All right, let's talk about something called vibe coding. Now, I know the name sounds a little out there, but trust me, what we're about to get into is one of the most practical, powerful shifts in how we work. We're talking about a genuine revolution in output, and it's for everyone. So let me just ask you this straight up. When you hear about AI coding tools, things like Cursor or plugins for VS Code, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Probably complex code, late nights, something that's strictly for software engineers, right?
Well, if that's what you're thinking, you're going to want to stick around.
Because it's time to completely flip that assumption on its head. This isn't just for coders. This is an output revolution that is going to impact every single one of us. Whether you're in sales, marketing, HR, strategy, it doesn't matter. This is about finally taking all those ideas we have and turning them into real, tangible things at a speed we've never seen before.
And that brings us to the most important point right off the bat. Vibe coding? It's not really about programming at all. It's about output. It's about taking the expertise that's already in your head and using AI as a partner to translate it into structured, valuable stuff. And no, you don't need to learn to write a single line of code.
And here's where the scale of this thing just becomes mind-blowing. Look, for an engineer, AI is an amazing tool. It's a 10x productivity boost, for sure. That's huge. But for a non-engineer, the leap is from 0 to 1. It's the jump from, I have an idea, but I can't build it, to I can actually make a version of it right now. That's not a 10x jump. That's an infinite leap.
And what this solves is one of the most painful, most universal problems in every company on the planet. I'm talking about the idea graveyard. Oh, you know exactly what I mean.
Seriously, just think about it. That amazing suggestion from last week's meeting, that brilliant concept someone dropped in a Slack channel, where did it go? The brutal truth is that almost all of them, like a staggering 99%, they just disappear. They evaporate into thin air before they ever become a real thing.
And why? Why do they die? Come on, it's the same old story every time, isn't it? You hear these phrases, and they are the tombstones of innovation. They form this giant output wall that stops good ideas in their tracks. It's that friction, that gap between a great idea and actually making it happen. Well, that wall is starting to crumble.
So how do we knock that wall down for good? Well, the answer isn't to go learn a bunch of Python. The key is mastering a completely different skill: the power of context.
And this right here is what vibe coding is all about. It's not about being a programmer. It's about being an amazing director. You are the one who holds all the critical context, your knowledge of the customer, your strategic goals, the constraints, and you are orchestrating an AI to build things based on that context. You're the brain. The AI is the hands.
And listen, this is a really important distinction to make. Playing around with a chatbot on the web is one thing. It'll spit out a big wall of text. But using these AI agents inside a structured environment, that's a whole different ballgame. It's like the difference between asking someone to write a single paragraph versus asking them to build an entire library where every document, every file is perfectly connected and consistent.
And what's wild is that the very act of working this way forces you to get better at your job. Because you have to be so clear for the AI, you learn how to define your requirements with surgical precision. You start to think more structurally. It's like a secret boot camp for becoming a better strategic thinker. And AI is your personal trainer.
Okay, so enough theory. What does this actually look like on a random Tuesday afternoon? Let's check out the Output Factory in action.
So picture this. A salesperson hangs up from a great call with a potential client. Instead of just sending a nice-to-chat email, they turn to their AI agent. And just 1 hour later, 1 hour, that client gets an email with a fully working prototype of the feature they just talked about, a detailed multi-page proposal, and a formal quote. And here's the magic part. All three of those things are perfectly consistent because they were born from the exact same core context.
Or take a marketer, one person launching a new campaign. They can now generate the entire 10-page strategy doc, 20 different blog posts based on that strategy, over 100 variations of social media posts, and, get this, the actual functional HTML code for the campaign's landing page. That is not just making someone more productive, that is changing the fundamental physics of what a single person can achieve.
So you can imagine, when you have people who can suddenly produce at that scale, it doesn't just change their to-do list. It starts to change the entire heartbeat of the organization. It completely rewires how a team thinks about solving problems. You get this massive cultural shift. The old way of thinking, which came from resource scarcity, was all about slow, careful deliberation. It was about finding all the reasons why we couldn't do something. The new mindset? It's all about massive, fast iteration. Why would we spend 2 weeks debating one version when we can generate 5 different versions right now and test a real prototype in an hour?
The entire culture flips from let's consider it to let's just do it. And what we're witnessing is the birth of a totally new kind of professional. This is the person who has deep expertise in their field, marketing, finance, you name it, but who also wields these new tools to become a one-person output factory. They're not a coder, they're a context controller with massive leverage. So look, this isn't science fiction. The technology is here. The methods are being proven out every day. This shift from the idea graveyard to the output factory is happening right now. So the only real question left is, are you going to be someone who just watches it happen, or are you going to be one of the people who leads it?